Human evolution and development has been influenced by the culture according to the region and facts around them. Diverse civilizations have gone changing during this time. However, the acculturation process of some native and endemic groups has interrupted their advance as culture due to, in many of them, the external world has imposed new customs and traditions, overshadowing their own. Waorani people have been an old community that, during the time, they have suffered those kind of injustices, not only by globalization, but by extractivism and evangelization. So, for a better understanding about what has been happening with Waorani people, we will explain a little bit more about their history.
Waorani people had a difficult story through the years. We could say that the first contact with Spain people was through the missionaries of many orders in 1574, but one of the most important and successful was the Jesuits, who founded the Marañón mission, located near to the watershed of Marañón River, which is known nowadays by the name of Amazon River. And although Jesuits gave to native people education, health and a good salary, also they implanted the Christianity into the native culture. Later on, La Real Audiencia de Quito exiled Jesuits from these territories. The main reason of this was a misunderstanding in which Carlos III of Bourbon believed that Jesuits betrayed the Spain crown. This decision caused the fury of Aborigines groups and also the conflicts between authorities. Extractivism process caused the acculturation of many Aborigines communities. When the second agrarian reform began at 1974, the government decided to consider the indigenous territories as abandoned land. That means that the government take in mind that those territories were inhabited by indigenous communities. When the oil boom took place in the 17th, the government forgot to protect and respect the rights of indigenous communities again. So they decided to give a million of hectares to foreign companies. Precisely, these areas were from the communities Waorani, Siama Secoya, and Kofan, and these territories were expropriated. To calm down the fury of the Aborigines, the government decided to give them just 50 million of hectares of their territory, but this decision just caused the increase of the madness. Finally, in 1990, the natives and ethnic groups of Amazonian region just kept the 22.6% of the total of their original territories. Nowadays, there are some internal conflicts between Waoranis communities, and also they fight between Waoranis and isolated Tagaeri Taromenane. In 2003, 2006, and 2013, there were several massacres that caused the murder of too many people as children, women, and old men.
Culture is very different than us culture. We are going to talk about the social structure, the cosmology, the language, and the clothes. They live in a long house that can house between 10 and 35 residents. The Waorani has a matriarchal organization, so the married couple tend to live in the home parents of a woman. In a long house live an older couple are their descendants, and is called nanikapu. When the old and widowed woman dies, she has to decay within and with the house, so both return to the rainforest. The clothes. The members of Waorani live without dress or scantily clothed. The women just use a bark from a plant called janchama for covering their genital area. while the men use a string called com that they use to hold their sexual organ, and it shows force, energy, and power. The Waorani trademark is pierced ears and looped rings in their elbows. The cosmology. The cosmology is the study of the origin of a culture to understand the behavior of people. The lifestyle of Waorani people is guided by the egalitarian nature and individual autonomy. That's allowed to maintain a peaceful and to participate in activities without senseless, morally wrong, or confusion respectively. These are the reasons why the Waoranis do not have an elaborated cosmology. The language. They have a own tongue, named Waoterero or Waoterero. It is considered an isolated language, but according to the Living in Tongues Institution for Endangered Language, Waoterero will be considered a treated language. Nowadays, there are many members of Waoranis who become trilingual due to the education in Spanish and the marriages between Waorani and Quichuas.
So, as we said before, family is the center of Waoranis, and the jungle is where the family must be. In this context, the rainforest is the base where this native group have developed themselves. It is where each familiar group creates their chakra, and each member develops their own activities. Something truly remarkable is that, in all the activities, the plants are a fundamental part. For example, in hunting, fishing, building, cooking, healing and handicrafting. This culture has a huge and useful knowledge about plants. They used to manage a total of 1,182 species, showing that it is an essential part of the subsistence of this native group. Likewise, it showed to us the importance of the traditional practices in the environmental conservation. For this, living in the jungle means for Waoranis having all the necessary, the defense against the outsiders and witchcraft. The environment creates the existence of Waoranis. This is the way to understand their cosmovision. This is the reason why the exterior world represents a danger for this culture, and we need to realize that modifying the jungle and their lifestyle means losing them. Unfortunately, the variety of phases of globalization, the intromission of extractivist activities and the different processes of acculturation and evangelization have been affecting the Waorani lifestyle, overshadowing the original customs and traditions. It means, since the first face-to-face contact, the exterior world has been affecting the equilibrium of Waorani people and the territory where they used to live. Despite sometimes globalizations make life easier, is it a real advantage? For a long time, Waorani people have been recognized by their very useful knowledge and their cultural differences, keeping their own practices in the only one way they knew, broadcasting their habits and teaching others what they learned. Unfortunately, they have been struggling with some social problems since the first contact with missionaries and extractivist companies, where their objective was conquest native lands. But the ambition of the riches caused the progressive loss of Waorani culture. In addition, there were two more facts that affect this native group. That were acculturation and globalization. Despite every indigenous community needs to be part of the free health and education system in order to avoid a poverty life, it is not right the direct interference of globalization on a native group reaching cultural and ancestral knowledge because all they know could benefit all the country and world. Will be able to keep their cultural identity?